All right.
All right. So, good morning and welcome. Warm welcome to my guests this morning, Lindsay Bell, Trish Ennis, Matt Law, Gabe Encarnacion. Did I get it right, Gabe?
You got it close enough.
Close enough. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. All right. So, we're waiting for the broadcast to start. Now, last time I did this, we ended up just going live into the regular feed and not on the event. So, it's possible that that's happening again, but we're also on a delay here. So, let's see. Oh, and we did it. Success. For those of you who have been with me on this LinkedIn Live journey, you know that it's been a little bumpy, but it looks like we have done it flawless here this morning. So, welcome to our viewers who are joining us live. Please participate in the chat. We want to hear from you about what you're looking forward to at this conference. And if you're watching the recording, hello and welcome to you as well. We're here this morning to talk about the Expo Hall at Safety 22. When is the best time to visit? What are the exhibits you don't want to miss? So, my guests are going to share with us their secrets on navigating the 147,000 square feet of exhibit space. Now, in case you don't know, oh, Jason says he's here. All right, Jason, I want to bring you on.
Jason.
We can't hear you, Jason. You're muted.
You're right. I was.
Okay, so welcome, Jason Maldonado of the Safety Justice League. Okay, so if you're not familiar with Safety 22, it is the national conference by the American Safety Society of Safety Professionals. It is the largest conference for people in the safety industry that I have personally attended, and it's a really great opportunity to network with other safety professionals and get continuing education credits. This year, it's being held in Chicago at the Convention Center, so you can go to ASSP's website to register there. Now, today is the third in our 4-part series where we're talking with fellow attendees and speakers about how you make the most of this giant event that is happening. Our first conversation was on navigating the more than 200 educational opportunities that were happening at the conference. So, my guests told me about the sessions they're looking forward to, how to divide and conquer, how to remember what you learned. Let me just pop a link for you in the chat box so that if you want to go check that recording, you can find it there. And then last Friday, I got advice on how to make the most of your networking opportunities. And I really appreciated this conversation because I'm such an introvert that I really have to force myself to talk to other people at an event like this. And I learned about walking across the room. I learned about QR codes for LinkedIn. It was a really great conversation, and you can check it out here. So let me just paste this link into the chat box for you. That's there. And then our final conversation is happening next Tuesday, 10 a.m. Eastern. We have a great panel, and we're going to talk about the events that are happening. And these are events that may or may not be affiliated with ASSP, but they're going to bring a little bit of fun into the Safety 22 experience because you know what they say about all work and no play. We don't want to do it. And we're going to get the inside scoop on what's happening there. I'm going to put the link into the chat box. You can visit that page and click attend, and then you'll get notifications when it happens. But today, it is all about the expo. So let me introduce my guest, Lindsay Bell, Regional Health and Safety Manager for Solvay. She holds an MPH, a CSP, and her first conference was in 2017. And you've gone every year, right? So all 5 years?
Gone every year since then. It was in Denver. Yeah.
In Denver. She is speaking on adaptive strategies for OSH communications. That's happening virtually Monday, June 27th, 2:15 to 3:15 p.m. Can you tell us a little bit about what you'll be talking about in that, Lindsay?
So in that session, I'll really be talking about ways that we can make our presentations more approachable for our learners, and is also leaning a little bit more into how we can do that in the virtual space, because as time has gone on here the past couple of years, we've all been expected to present virtually more often. So how do we read the room when we can't see the room? So those are some of the things we'll be talking about in that presentation.
Fantastic. Well, I'm looking forward to it. And Jason Maldonado, Regional Safety Engineer for Amazon Web Services, he holds a CSP. His first conference was in 2009, has attended a total of 7 conferences. He is speaking on Leverage the Safety Airwaves, Cast Your Message. That is happening Tuesday, June 28th at 10:30 Central. Now, Jason, you're presenting that with the SJL crew, right?
Yes, so all three of us will be there: Jason, Lucas, myself, and Abby Ferry, and we're going to be talking about a few different approaches and some interactive ways that the audience can get involved right there in the session. But really, how you use recorded audio, video, even just things like this, like LinkedIn Live, to help educate your staff, to get a message out there, to communicate effectively and timely, and also have a little bit of fun while you're doing it. So that's what we're looking forward to on Tuesday.
Yeah, awesome. I know that's going to be a great session. Trish Ennis, Executive Director for the Colorado Safety Association. She holds a CSP, an ARM, a CRIS, an MS. Those are all kinds of designations. I don't know what they stand for. She's a past president of ASSP and attended her first conference in 1998. Since then, she has attended 23 safety conferences. She can be found at the foundation booth in the Expo Hall. And I'm curious, Trish, what keeps you coming back year after year?
So, the PDC is a great event, and it's a good place to get your points for your CSP and continuing education and also networking. I would say of the 23 years, probably 21 of those I've been in leadership roles. So I was either on the planning committee for the conference or the VP of professional development, and then regional vice president, and then kind of through the chairs. And we always had, board meetings affiliated with the conference. So I've always just been working when I was there, or speaking, or doing a pre or post conference session. So it's just a great opportunity to really stretch your wings, do some speaking, present, network. So all of those
Yeah,
meetings.
great example that you can be as involved as you want to be.
Mhm.
Gabe, Vice President BBL Safety, attended his first conference in 2021, and this is going to be your second year. He's presenting
Yep.
on Monday, June 27th, 3 p.m. Lead Like Lasso, and an informal survey with an survey audience, including just me. I voted it best title uh, for sessions that day. Give us a 30-second preview, Gabe, on what your session's going to be about.
Sure. Yeah, this is going to be looking at leadership development for both emerging and current leaders in the safety profession, put in the framework of the show Ted Lasso. Now, you don't have to be um, a fan of the show or have even seen the show to understand some of the concepts that Wyatt Bradbury and I will be going over in it. But it is really a conversation that Wyatt and I have been having for probably the last 2 years. So it'll be fun.
Yeah, that's great. And Matt Law, Manager Safety Strategy at Granger, holds an MPH, a CSP, REHS, attended his first conference in 2019 and has attended 3 of them so far. He has 2 sessions coming up, so you can see him in person on emergency risk communication in OSH and virtually in ISO 45001 State of the Union. Tell us a little bit about those, Matt.
Sure. So, emergency risk communication in OSH, we're talking about the pandemic and beyond. So, there's a lot of things that safety professionals have learned or not learned, a lot of lessons learned from both the pandemic and a lot of recent big things that have happened. And what this is we're bringing over an evidence based framework from public service to help safety professionals with emergency or with communicating risk during these big emergencies or disasters or whatever it may be. So it's a very, very cool educational presentation. So looking forward to that. Now, the second one is a presentation that I've teamed up with Dr. Travis Cruz on to talk about ISO 45001 State of the Union. So what we're looking at is kind of the state of ISO 45001 in the United States and how it's been adopted and what the business motivations are for getting certified to ISO 45001 for organizations in the United States. So really data heavy presentation, but it's really interesting to see how things have progressed over the last few years.
Thanks so much, Matt. All right, so let's dive into our. Actually, let me introduce myself first. I'm your host. I'm Sharon Lipinski, CEO of Habit Mastery Consulting. I am also speaking Tuesday, 4 p.m., on the biological basis of complacency. We're really going to shift how you think about what this is and what you can do about it. If you're speaking and you're attending, go ahead and drop it into the chat. We would love to hear about these other sessions that are happening. So let's dive into our conversation. The expo starts at 11:15 a.m. on Monday, at which point in time you can enter the expo hall. I'm going to just put in the expo hours into the chat here. Now, even though it's open all of the time, there is also kind of dedicated expo time when there are no other sessions or events being scheduled. That way you can feel free to explore the hall at your leisure without any pressure to go that you're missing anything. But even though we have all of these times in which we could go, I'm wondering if there is a better time to go. Lindsay, when do you think is the best time to visit the expo
I
hall?
think there's a couple of best times to visit. I think one of the best times is that initial opening kind of expo only time when everyone goes because everyone's there and there's a lot of hype, and that's probably the most fun time to go. But while that's the official opening time, technically the expo's already open. There are already vendors, sending me in-mail, sending me emails, inviting me to their booth at the expo, asking what my needs are, asking, if there's certain things that I'm looking for. So if you are actually looking for something specific, whether that's PPE or certain types of fall protection, whatever it is you're looking for, start reaching out to vendors and asking if they have a booth at the expo and kind of explaining what your needs are to make sure that you can get on their schedule, because some of the vendors do have appointment slots where you can have one-on-one time with them. Some of the vendors also have offsite opportunities for networking with them where they will hold different receptions and things like that, where you can have more one-on-one time with them and really get that individualized attention to talk about the products and services that they offer. So the expo has already started. So when we say early, we mean early.
Okay, that's great tips. I didn't know that. Would anybody like to add anything to what Lindsay just shared with us?
I'll say there's a lot of interactive stuff going on. So I try to find out where those things are, even if I can't get into them. The one thing that I'm really big into is the booths that do the soft tissue manipulations and demonstrations, where they'll actually help you with some of your ails as you're maybe you're a little sore and from the night before or something like that. But sometimes those are kind of hard to get into, so I kind of figure out where they are first, so that I know where to go later on.
So that's kind of building on what Lindsay says. So if you know that you're interested in these particular things, you can find out ahead of time when these events are going to happen and make sure that you're there for those demonstrations. That's awesome. Now, I took a look at the expo map and I see that the ASSP Foundation booth is located directly in the center, right, Trish?
Yep.
Yep.
It's in
And
the
that's where you're. Go ahead.
it's in the resource center, pretty
Okay.
much in the center. There's a lot of things going on there, and there are tables you can come sit and have a meeting with someone or just, relax for a few minutes. But yeah, the foundation always has a booth there. I'm the chair of the foundation currently, and we've given out this current year $251,000 in scholarships and grants to safety and
Wow.
health professionals and students. So our opportunity to come and talk to us. A lot of people come and give us the gifts. We have the Text for Safety campaign. So just a lot going on, and we can explain how to access those professional development grants and scholarships. So
Yeah.
it's fun to network with people.
What is the Text for Safety campaign?
If you donate, we put your name in lights, and we always have a goal.
Ah,
And so people can text their pledge and then they get a link to actually pay. So it's usually a pretty effective social media kind of a campaign for raising funds for the foundation.
oh, neat. So
Yeah,
come to the ASSP Foundation booth. You can sit down. You have tables. You have books there. What else is going on at the foundation? Anything else? Nope.
nothing else. I mean, we've kind of not doing a lot of events anymore just because they're very resource heavy for low return on that investment. So we're just communicating, promoting our programs, thanking people for being part of it. We've got some great long-term donors who are going to be there, and it's a good event.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
All right, so let's talk about strategies for navigating the hall. It's a lot of space. And actually, I learned kind of in the small talk before we went live this morning, Trish told me that the expo hall used to be even twice as large. So I can only imagine. So I'm curious, Matt, do you have any strategies for how you conquer this hall, if it can be conquered?
Yeah, that's a very interesting question. So there's every trade show that I go to, I do it a little bit differently, depending on who's there and what's there and how large it is. One thing I like to do is go online ahead of time. All the exhibitors are listed there, and I can find out who's there and what looks interesting and who can I say hi to. And I try to mark off the folks that I want to go see and make that happen. Um, the other way to do it is just to go through and navigate one by one. So when you have that dedicated expo time, just kind of make a snake pattern straight through the expo hall
Mm-hmm.
and go see everybody, because there's going to be folks on that list that you've never heard of or not seen before, and don't let that discourage you from going to see these folks, because there's a lot of really cool, innovative ideas out there that would be great to take back. So that's kind of my strategy. Now, one more thing I will say is uh, during this conference, there are going to be those flash sessions that are going to be on the trade show floor.
Mm-hmm.
So I would try to time it so that you can be at those flash sessions, uh, and kind of be around the booths around those flash sessions at that same time.
Yeah. Now there's going to be an app for safety this year. Is that right? Okay,
I
so
Yes.
the
believe so.
app is really nice for that because then you can kind of look through the flash sessions and you can start and then you can say, oh, at this time, this is where I need to be. And as you're walking through the hall, you can, make your way to that spot at that time. Now, Gabe, I'm curious, when you attended your first safety conference, was that in person or was it virtual?
It was in person. I actually got to go to Austin and check that out. So that was pretty fun.
Did you have a strategy when you walked into the expo hall for the first time?
I did. Now I did a little bit of research ahead of time, kind of like what Matt was talking about, and I don't know. I kind of do the expo halls like I used to listen to albums, where I kind of run through them really quick first, get a quick taste of it, and then go back to the ones that kind of caught my interest. So it's a lot of walking, but I do find the booths that I am interested in, or maybe if there was a product or a service that I was kind of working on ahead of time, those are the ones where I want to go and talk to the people that are presenting or actually doing demos. So yeah, doing a little bit of pre-work is always helpful.
Yeah, and you can go to the SSP website and you can find a map ahead of time with all of the exhibitors that will help you kind of do your planning there as well. How about you, Jason? Do you have a strategy?
Yeah, so it's changed over the years. I've definitely used the zigzag and the record technique, like Gabe was talking about. This year and last year, especially, the Safety Justice League is using this as sort of a networking opportunity. We've
Mhm.
partnered with a lot of the sponsor, with a few of the people who will be having booths and presenting in the expo hall. So what we're doing is working out a time map, essentially, where we're going to go spend some designated time hanging out with the people that have supported us in the show and helped us keep going. So uh, through that, I've found that I've just met some really incredible people. And even before I did the podcast, meeting up, since 2009, I have vendor friends that I made even back then, where I was looking for a specific product, or maybe not even looking, just having to catch their shocking demo, and made friends and network. So I always go back to those people that I've been in contact with for years and years to try to keep those relationships and make new ones.
And I'd like to
Awesome.
add on that what Jason's saying, because I remember my first conference, I wasn't looking for anything in particular. And at that point in my career, I really didn't have any purchasing power or say in the items that
Mm-hmm.
my company was buying. So I had a more, we'll call it a chaotic expo hall energy. And I was just kind of there and I was grabbing swag and it was just fun because it is a fun experience too. It's serious as right now it may seem. You can go there just to have fun. But some of those contacts and some of the cards I've picked up and LinkedIn connections I've made as I've kind of progressed in my career, I still go back to those same contacts. And now I am looking for something and I already have contacts with those companies. So I will reach out to those connections that I've made, years later and say, oh, hey, you may not remember this, but I met you like 3 years ago at this Expo hall. You still have, this and that product. So it is good to make connections on that level too.
Even when you're not really in the market for services, right? Is that what you're
Yeah.
saying? Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Do you approach that conversation differently then? Are you just like introducing yourself?
Yeah, it's just more of a casual conversation because, you'll see sometimes the vendors are just kind of standing around twiddling their thumbs too. So they're more than willing to talk to you about their product, even if you're not necessarily in the market right that moment. You might be in the future. And I've had that happen plenty of times where, 2 years later, I'm like, you know what? I actually do remember a vendor that had something for this specific purpose. Let me reach out to them.
Mm. Trish, what would you like to add to the navigating the hall?
So I think all of these tips are really good. Having a plan, so that you can actually find the people you really want to talk to, because otherwise you can get lost in the maze. I would just say, contrary to some people's goals when they go in the expo hall, I've spent the last number of years trying to minimize the bright, shiny tchotchke objects because you can end up needing a separate suitcase and then you bring all that stuff back and it sits all over your office. The other thing I've probably learned to do is not give my badge with the barcode just to every single vendor, because then you just get an avalanche of mail and emails, and it can be a little overwhelming. So I try to be a little more strategic about who I do make connections with as far as ongoing information. And to Lindsay's point, you can't always predict the future and when you might need some product or service, but you kind of have a little bit of an idea if something's way outside your sphere. You may not want to just sign up for their emails if you don't need them. So
Okay. Well, I'm kind of curious about what are some of these products and services you might all be looking for this year? What feels timely for you? Uh, Jason, you want to start us off?
You just completely blanked my mind there. But the way,
Nothing like a little pressure.
yeah, no, the one thing that, well, on a personal note, when I'm there wandering around, the one thing I'm always looking for is the booths that are giving away electrolyte drinks, just to replenish myself. So uh, that's always going to be a hot one on my list. But no, the one thing that I'm always interested in is the newest, latest, and greatest in PPE, seeing kind of what the improvements are, um, seeing what maybe we don't need anymore, as far as the olden days go. As things evolve and get better. But I'm always looking for a really good instrument. If we're doing uh, sound level surveys, noise surveys, or something like that. I like things that do all the work for you. So there's the instrumentation's come a long way in the years that I've been in the field. So whereas you used to have to download things and make your own graphs and charts and reports, now they'll pretty much do it all for you. But I was going to say, along the lines of scanning, if you don't want to give your badge, there's a lot of opportunities where you can just sort of sneakily go up and scan a QR code of your own and
mhm.
gather some of that information without having, if you're shy, or if you don't really want to talk to that vendor, but you want a little bit more information, they'll have a QR code right there in their booth. Just scan it and walk on. So,
Hmm.
Okay, that's a great tip. And Linda just chimed into the chat to say that she heard from ASSP member Kat Dobson that many attendees pick up Expo goodies and then use them for prizes in their training classes. So
So,
maybe
There
you're
you go.
picking up swag not just for yourself, but
right there
to
you go.
enrich other people.
And
Yeah,
that's a great way to not let it gather dust in the closet too.
right.
Yeah.
Because
if
how
I
many foam hard hats do you really need on your desk, right?
if I came home and empty-handed, my kids would kill me. So
Lindsay, are you looking forward to anything this year?
I'm always pretty much looking for two things, and that is auditing software that allows me to attach photos to the things that I'm finding. So if I have a tablet, I want to be able to say, I found this condition and here's a picture of it. And then I'm always looking for PPE, particularly breathable FR acid PPE. Typically, we work with sulfuric acid, chlorsulfonic acid, things of that nature. And so actually about 2 years ago, I found some really great asset PPE wandering through the expo hall and have been using that brand ever since. But I'm always open, so always looking
Nice.
for that.
Okay. Anybody else want to chime in with things that they're looking for, services or products that feel timely this year, or specific exhibitors you really look forward to seeing every year?
Well, I gotta say, I think one of the things I always look forward to is, like Lindsay said, there's going to be a lot of software vendors there. I think there's going to be some cool stuff about connected worker, things like that, new technologies that are going to help us do safety better. I also have to give a shameless plug for the Granger booth. We are definitely we are going to have a really interesting setup this year. We're hoping to have a very immersive educational experience that I think everybody is going to enjoy a lot. And then I will also say, if you're a baseball fan, you should definitely stop by the Granger booth. I'll give one
Speaking.
plug uh, say because I'm using him up right now, but it's his booth because there's going to be some pretty cool stuff there.
So, Matt, I actually lost your there for a second. So, what booth should we not miss out on?
Granger and SG World USA.
Okay, that was the last one we didn't hear. SJ World USA.
Yeah,
Okay.
only because I'm using his laptop.
Funny.
That
Good
seems
old Sir
fair.
Richard. Yep. I do have a pro tip for anybody that is interested in the swag. Stop by the Ergodyne booth. A lot of times in the past, people would always would even sometimes bring an extra suitcase that was, or not suitcase, but a bag that was empty where they could fill it with swag. You don't have to do that because Ergodyne gives away these cool little backpacks. So you just go up to the Ergodyne booth, grab a backpack. It's already got some stickers preloaded in it and some other fun
Yep.
stuff, and then you can throw everything else in there. So I try to go minimalist and not carry a bunch of junk around with me, and rather I just gather it as I go.
Okay. Gabe or Trish?
I think I'm just looking for technology. I think that the comments on here are all really on point. Things that will eliminate exposures. So any kind of new lifting devices that minimize the use of ladders or minimize falls. I think drones, artificial intelligence, virtual reality, all of that kind of emerging technology to help protect workers and make our training more interesting and effective. I'm always looking for those kinds of things.
Awesome.
Yeah, I think I'd add to that as well, Trish, that I've noticed that there's been a lot more software exhibitors that have been out there, and definitely the whole AI machine learning use of virtual reality that's started to grow a lot more. So it's kind of neat to see that in the expo hall because it is the cutting edge, it's the leading edge
Yeah.
of the safety space. Might not see it out in the field for a little while, but it's a good way to kind of get a preview of what's coming up.
Right. Yeah.
So there are some things happening in the expo hall that you probably want to be aware of. So Wyatt posted earlier in the chat that you, as part of your ticket, you get a $75 food credit that you can then use in the expo hall. Is that right? Okay. And
Yes.
then I know that there is a Wise fashion show. Lindsay, are you
Mhm.
involved in that at all? Or Trish, are you
Not
guys?
this year, but there is a Wise PPE fashion show, and it's showing off kind of all the latest things in women's PPE and making sure you have the right fit and everything. And all of those vendors will also be in the expo hall. So if you see something you like, you will be able to go get that. So.
Oh,
And I
that's
believe
great.
there's 2 sessions of it. There's one in the morning and one in the afternoon on Tuesday, and I only know that because the first one's right before my session, and my co-host Jason Lucas is actually announcing the fashion show. So I'm looking forward to that.
Awesome. There's also a headshot lounge there. So you can go get a
Oh,
photo taken, which you can use for your business card, for your LinkedIn. Has anybody done the headshot
mm-mm.
lounge at a prior event?
I didn't know about that. That's interesting. Is that
I
new?
haven't done it at the PDC, but I did it at an ASSP leadership conference. So
Hmm.
I'm assuming it's similar. And yeah, it's like free. It's literally as advertised, free headshots. So you should definitely do it.
Nice. I think you should also map out the refreshment break areas because when they have ice cream, it goes fast.
There
That's
you
just a
go.
survival
Well,
tip for, Expo navigation.
how do you know about when they put out the ice cream, though?
You just kind of have to watch. If you see people walking around with it, then you want to know where it is, right?
Then make a beeline to the refreshment
That's
center,
it.
get yourself an ice cream. Okay. And I'll also mention that there is some putt-putt going on, and they're giving out some
Mm.
prizes, Apple Watch, an Oculus Quest headset,
Mm.
a Kindle Paperweight, a Ring doorbell, AirPods, so lots of awesome prizes. Have they done something like that before? That feels new to me.
I think in the past it was more the passport to prizes, and you would go around to the different vendors and they would stamp your passport, and then that got put in a raffle. So this seems like the newer version of that.
Gotcha. So is there a raffle this year, or we don't know?
I
I don't
haven't
know.
seen it. I think the app should, once the app comes out, it should give us a
They'll
lot
tell
more
us there.
information. Yeah,
And the
and I
app
think
will give you great push notifications for whenever they're doing prizes or raffles or how to enter them.
or
Because a
ice
lot of
cream.
them will be virtual, like you take a selfie and then upload it, and that's how you enter.
Yeah, the app is really kind of a must. It just makes navigating that whole conference so much easier. All right, so as we wrap up here, does anybody have any last words of wisdom that they'd like to share with the audience about making the most of the expo hall?
Don't
Wear
skip it.
comfortable shoes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Don't skip it. Wear comfortable shoes. Great
Right.
advice.
Go see one vendor or one item that you feel like you will never have to use in your whole lifetime because it's just one way of being introduced to something that you may not come across in your typical day to day. And I would say attending a session in that same vein, go stretch a little bit and find something that's new to you.
I love that. Jason, Gabe?
Oh, those are all great points. Yeah, definitely the comfortable shoes. I do like looking for new products, new services, something that is kind of off the wall, just to see if it would spark some interest. And who knows, I might see it in the field in the next year or two. So it's kind of fun to see it ahead of time. And I would say, just for me, I've done it a couple times, and it's a little bit fun. It's kind of like that safety summer camp vibe. But don't be too afraid to get suckered into buying something if you find it interesting. There's always some little, device or gizmo that somebody's selling that you can pick up right there for, usually a discount or something. But they've got some cool stuff a lot of times.
Right.
Okay. So you can get some discount on some kinds of equipment. That's cool. Well, I want to thank you all so much for joining me. You had fantastic tips, and I know I will definitely be better at the expo hall. I have previously just sort of avoided it because, kind of like Lindsay, I'm like, oh, I don't need anything. I'm not in a position to make these purchases, but I'm going to get outside of my comfort zone and go talk to some people. So I really want to thank you for joining me this morning.
Thank you.
Thank
Thanks
you.
so
Thank
much.
you.
All right. Take care, everyone. Bye bye.
Bye.
Bye.